Football on top of football. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lawrence Report. Tonight's broadcast discussing episode 3 of All American. And y'all, let me just say, this episode here was hella driven all about football for the most part, which I was absolutely cool with because we're getting back to the core of the show. Besides Spelivia and the relationships with Jordayla and everybody else, we're getting back to football and Spencer trying to make it to the NFL.
I'm him.
And oh my God, can we talk about Asher bringing back
I know that ain't who I think.
last night? That was a bomb that nobody expected, but an even bigger bomb that was also dropped was when Liv was sitting at the dinner table with Grace and she talked about the affair. Well, she said she blurted out the affair. Oh my God, the look on Liv's face. Grace was shocked. It was just a lot. And not to mention, we still got Jordan being a little bit of a bridezilla. He also gets a little bit jealous of Layla, which I can't completely understand why he would get jealous in that scenario. And like I said, him and Spencer are still going at it. But let me give y'all my rating for this episode. For me, this right here was a solid 8 for me, with 10 being high. So please tell me your rating. For me, like I said, it is a solid 8 for this episode. Wasn't too much, relationship content on this one right here. It was more focused on the football. And I also sent out this tweet last night. Shout out to Adrian Dukes himself. As we're watching this, and I got a question for y'all. Are y'all watching this show? And I'm not judging anybody, but are y'all watching this show just for Spelivia and football, or is it just strictly for Spelivia? Comment below. I sent out this tweet to Adrian Dukes. I saw a lot of people last night. He is a writer on the show, whatever. But I saw a lot of people last night saying that they was bored with this episode because they didn't get enough Spelivia content, right? And when I sent out this tweet to him, I basically said, hey man, good episode. I'm glad you did finally give us some Spelivia content because they was about to come at your head. And he told me, you can see the reply, what he said right there. And I thought that was hilarious. He was like, this can come from me either way. But shout out to Adrian. You did give the fans some Spelivia content. I'm always here for both. I'm one of those people who watch the show for Spelivia and the football aspect, making sure Spencer is able to get to the NFL and do his thing there. But let's get into this episode. Now, on this episode right here, like I said, it is football heavy driven on this episode. And we see Spencer in the early beginning of this episode. We see Spencer and Jordan, they are at this game and it looks like they're winning, right? Due to the analytics of Coach Mac, put it like that, right? And Spencer's like, yo, you knew I was, be telling Jordan this, like, yo, you knew I was kind of open. I could have got it over with that defender. Like, it was nothing for me. And, Jordan's like, well, yeah, I'm just going by what Coach Mack is telling me. I'm just going by the analytics. And Spencer's like, are you sure that is not anything about the beef with the book or my decision to go early? You sure we ain't got no tension here between us? Jordan downplaying. It's like, no. I'm just going by Coach Mack. And, he's like, I trust Coach Mack as an offensive coordinator. Spencer's like, yeah, I hope you trust him. So they end up getting back to the locker room. There's a celebration that's going on. Team is excited. And rightfully so, they just caught a big win, right? But Spencer's noticing Coach Mack, the athletic director, and Coach Kenny. And Jordan comes over. He's like, is everything good? But then there is an announcement that is coming. We know that Coach Mack has been sent there to basically run the statistics of the offense, right? But it turns out he is now officially getting a promotion as an offensive coordinator. And the look on Coach Kenny's face when he says that is kind of shocking. He looks directly at Spencer because we know that Coach Kenny really don't like Coach Mack like that, but he's doing it based off the program, basically what his athletic director told him. So Spencer pulls him to the side like, yo, are you cool with this? Like, he's gonna come for your job. And that's typically how it is a lot of times in football, just any sports. Whenever you do hire the offensive coordinator, if the head coach ends up getting fired, a lot of times they will promote that offensive coordinator to become the head coach. I can't see Coach Kenny getting fired or anything like that. But Spencer and, Coach Kenny, they have this discussion. And Coach Kenny tells him, like, yo, this is the big leagues, considering that you did announce that you were going to go to the draft early. I kind of feel like Coach Kenny's like, yo, this is some of the repercussions that is going to come with everything that we have going forward when it comes to this program and how we can elevate you to get into NFL. So, Spencer tried to tell Coach Kenny, talk to him as a man one-on-one. But the thing about Coach Kenny and Spencer relationship, it ain't nothing like Billy, for an example. Their relationship was like father and son. And this one right here, we strictly see that Coach Kenny and Spencer's relationship is strictly business as usual. Now, speaking as business as usual, right? And that business is business, all right? We gotta talk about Asher. I mean, this episode, like I said, is football heavy driven. Now, he's doing his thing on his side of the town, trying to step up and be this great coach while I'm having a baby. And we see Jabari in this right. It was good to see Jabari back also. One of the classic OGs. It was good to see him back in this episode as well. He was there, and there is a look of despair on his face and his teammates' face. It's because their star quarterback is out with a Achilles tear. Now, if you know about anything about Achilles tear, that takes up to a year to heal, basically, right? And now Asher is wondering, what do I do? He decided to reach out to Montez about the situation. He's talking to the other coaches, but he is in a desperate situation. And Jabari drops the news that, I think he said that it's not like we have former Heisman Trophy winners that are just falling out of the sky, right? And Asher comes up with a I don't know how I should even say this, right? Like a divisive type plan, because I think we're just gonna have to see how this works out. He ends up, after he runs it through the coaches, and he's talking to Jordan about some advice too, about how he should go through this whole situation with trying to find a new QB. He comes up with this plan. The plan is to bring the one and only Wade Waters back into the fold. And Jabari is, he's like, yo, are you sure you want to do this right here? But Asher is desperate. And, we see Wade saying thank you. And for Asher, he believes that everybody deserves a second chance. So it looks like Wade is potentially going to be the new quarterback of Asher's program. So that was a bombshell for me and for everybody who was watching it last night. I was like, what's that? And I love how they did the camera. The camera went slow motion. It went to his feet. Then it went all the way up. And then we saw that it was Wade. Back at the beach house, we end up seeing Spencer and Coop. They are preparing a little charcuterie board for these agents that are coming to Spencer's house to talk to him about signing with their agency, right? And I just love how Coop is always going to call Spencer out on his bull, even sometimes when he can't see it himself. So I'm always going to be here for the relationship and the best friendship, if that's the word I just created, that those two have always had for each other. Now, even Coop is giving him some advice saying, yo, you ain't got to sign with them. We're just here to basically, get a rough draft, get a vibe of how these agents are. And they also brought back the writers in this episode. They brought back the funny aspect. There was this one old agent that was falling asleep. I thought that was hilarious right there. And then they got down to the nitty gritty. They got down to the business. They met these two agents right here. And this agent's like, listen, I've noticed that your numbers kind of have plummeted recently. And Spencer's like, yeah, well, we're just trying to get the offense together because we know we have a new OC, new offensive coordinator. And the agent is like, well, to let you know, the more your numbers, they don't rise, your draft stock can fall at the same time. And we see this young agent to his left. I can't think of his name right now, but this young agent is looking at Spencer too like, yeah, bro, he is kind of right. But Spencer's in deep thought. He knows that, he is going to step up to the plate regardless. He's going to make sure that he does end up getting drafted to the NFL. Let's switch gears and talk about this book that Liv is getting ready to write about Billy. Now, she states that she is getting ready to write about his early years. We're talking about his high school years, right? And she has this conversation with Layla. She tells Layla that she's about to write the book. And Layla's like, so who's the first person you're going to interview? And she says, I'm planning on interviewing Grace. So Layla is like, oh, Grace. Okay. And Layla's like, well, you know, I'm looking from the outside, you know, Billy and Grace kind of, you know, had an affair. How does your mother feel about it? And she's like, well, Liv was like, well, I talked to my mom about it, and my mom gave me her blessing to go, you know, talk about, to get Grace basically to be the first person that I want to talk to, right? So while they're getting ready to transition to Liv, you know, being at the dinner table, well, being at the table, period, with Grace, you know, we end up seeing Denise, another OG character that came back on this episode. And we know that Denise was, I'm just going to say, Denise is a freak. Denise is freaky. You know, she had the hots for Billy like forever, right? She just always loved Billy Baker. That was her dude right there, right? And you know, they're sitting around the table. She's like, I bought some Billy Morbilia, which I thought was pretty funny. And she even said I bought toenail clippings. I was like, hold on now. Hold on now. Hold on now. But what are we doing right now? And Liv's like, hold on, did you say so? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so they end up talking about Billy and you know how he was a good guy, that he was just you know always a helper to people, and they talked about how he was trying to help out this kid. I think this kid was named David. He was getting bullied, but Billy, you know, stepped up to the plate and made sure that this kid was safe, right? Denise is like, yo, I thought that nothing would ever keep you two apart. Talking about Billy and Grace, right? And then Liv's like, well, I guess the affair was a part of that. And I was like, oh, she dropped a bomb about the whole Grace and Billy affair situation, and everything just stopped. Like everything stopped. Everybody facial expression just stopped whenever she blurted out the words about the affair, right? Because Grace is like, yo, Billy was the guy, and you know, oh man. When she said that about the affair, like I said, everything stopped in slow motion, and Liv was like, uh, 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 I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I gotta go. I gotta go. And later on the episode, we see her, you know, talking to Ashley about the situation. Like, yo, I need some advice. I messed up. And thankfully, you know, we end up seeing Layla there. Layla is also there to help her, you know, try to deal with what she just said. And Layla even talks about her own situation with her mother, right? And eventually we do end up seeing Liv go back to Grace's home, and they're talking about the Billy situation. She talks about how both of them, they were in pain, right? They both masked their pain, and Liv asked her a question, like, can I ask you a question about the affair? Like, were you two still in love? And Liv was like, I mean, not Liv, but Grace is like, it was basically a accident. Like, it didn't supposed to happen, but it did. So we knew that digging into this old closet, this old skeleton, that some things were going to come out that we and that Liv was not necessarily prepared for. As you already know from this episode, you probably know that, yeah, I absolutely love the highlights of some of the OG cast members that we haven't seen in a long time, including Preach, right? You know, Preach is doing his thing, kind of like as a mentor to the young boys out there at Crenshaw, you know, and we end up meeting this kid by the name of Dion, right? But Dion is he kind of a lot of times is just not all the way there focused, right? The way he should be. And apparently this Dion kid has been labeled as the next Spencer James. That's a pretty big title, right? And Preach is, you know, basically recruiting Spencer to come down to the high school to try to motivate this kid, try to talk to him, to see some of his interests, to see what he's about, right? And you know, this part right here kind of got to me whenever they're walking down the hallway, and you know, Spencer, he looks over, he sees the trophy case. The trophy case is him and Billy Baker. I was like, oh my God, no, don't do that to me, y'all. Him and Coach Baker, that kind of had your boy emotional, man, because we just think about the arc that Spencer has had with Coach Billy Baker to now. I'm just like, oh my God, that just tugged at my heartstrings, at my heartstrings right there. So yeah, so him and Dion are talking, and Dion is kind of rough around the edges. It seemed like this is a hard egg to crack right here. But Dion, Spencer is trying to get Dion to open up, and Dion's like, "Oh no, I don't have a favorite rapper. I don't have a favorite athlete or something like that." He was saying, but Spencer's like, "Yo, come down to my games. Come see how I do things, and hopefully this can motivate you." And Dion does end up making the trip down to GAU to see Spencer ball out, but it doesn't go as well as Spencer or Dion hoped. It is no secret that Coach Mack is basically tailoring this offense around Jordan Baker and also making sure that everybody else is getting involved, but kind of leaving Spencer out of this right here, right? So we see there's a practice going on. We got Dion there, and we got Coop there along with his other agent. He is there as well, right? And Coach Mack is like, yo, we're going to change this whole offense up a little bit. We're going to make sure that the wide receivers, which is wild, is going to be blocking. That's what he called for. That was the play, right? And Spencer looked at him like, oh, wow. So, yeah. So this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, cool. So Spencer, he's going along with it at first, but eventually he ends up getting frustrated. He ends up calling, Coach Kenny to the side saying, listen, I'm tired of being a decoy. Like, when am I going to catch the ball? Like, what's going on with that? And, Ken's like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna talk to Mac. Stop it. Anyway, as the offense continues to goes on, Spencer is extremely frustrated. He's like, yo, what do I have to do to get the ball? And him and Jordan, they're going at it, right? And he's like, so this is what Spencer said, this is what I'm going to do then. Since I'm not getting the ball, I'm going to play defense. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to play defense since you seem to say that, oh, well, the offense isn't all about Spencer James anymore. That's basically what Jordan was trying to tell Spencer, that it ain't about you anymore. It's about the entire team, right? But Spencer's like, listen, I'm the number one option. What you mean it's not about me? I'm the number one guy on this offense. So Spencer goes to the defense, right? And now it's his turn to basically bat down some of the passes that Jordan is having, right? And he ends up going ballistic. Spencer says, I'm him. I'm him. And he's swatting down the passes. He's like, oh, so that's what I gotta do to get the ball? And Coach Kenny, roughs him up by the neck, like, yo, get off my field. Get off my field. And Spencer's like, I'm him. I'm him, though. I'm him. In case y'all didn't know, that's what Spencer's trying to say. Spencer was upset. He caused a scene. But why he's causing a scene, you got the recruiter right there. He's looking at it. And you got Dion. And Spencer looks up. He's like, oh, man. He sees everybody, the recruiter and Dion. He's like, dang, what did I just do? Considering that Spencer kind of did let Dion down, he ends up going to Crenshaw to watch him, do his thing on the field. And Spencer apologized to him. And Dion's like, yo, I never had nobody apologize, to me, and Dion understands what Spencer's going through. Dion's probably had something similar to that where he may have lost his cool because he is the number one guy. So I'm loving the relationship that hopefully we will see them to continue to build throughout this season. That's if he comes back. I don't know how they're going to write the Dion situation, but if he comes back, that'd be dope for Spencer to come back and forth to Crenshaw. And Spencer admits that, listen, I failed you, and I failed all the other kids, that are looking at me. I should have been a bigger man today, and I let you down, and I let myself down, and, I just got to be a better man. I can't let my emotions get to me like that, right? It's kind of like I'm just paraphrasing that, but Dion was like, whenever Spencer said that, Spencer's like, okay, well, I just want to say my piece, and I'm going to dip. But Dion's like, yo, you think you could stay and watch me play? Spencer's like, sure, I would love to do that. So I'm hoping that their relationship, like I said before, will continue to build. We know for a fact that Coach Mack 100% wants Jordan to be his guy. He even comes out and says it, right, whenever those two are meeting. And, I feel like Coach Mack is going to be the potential downfall of Jordan. I feel like he's kind of, this Coach Mack guy kind of has like snake in the grass type vibes. I don't trust him. I feel like he has another motive. He's going to use Jordan as the bait, and Jordan is going to fall for it. And Coach Mack tells him, yo, how about we go get some burgers? And Jordan's like, well, I kind of got to plan my wedding. You know, Jordan is a male bridezilla. He's like, you're a junior and you're planning a wedding. And that right there caught me off guard because he's right. He's like, listen, it's your junior year. You're worried about marriage right now? But Coach Mack's like, yo, I hope football doesn't get into the way of, well, he's like, well, I'm going to say he hopes that marriage doesn't get into the way of you trying to accomplish your football dreams. And we do end up seeing Jordan has this perplexed look on his face. He's contemplating about being Coach Mack's guy. And later on in this episode, we do end up seeing Jordan come to Coach Mack, and Jordan is drinking. Jordan is drinking in this episode. Is he old enough to drink? Well, is he old enough to drink? Y'all let me know. But yeah, he does end up telling Coach Mack, you know what? I'm ready to be your guy. Like, let's do this right here. And speaking of Jordan, let's talk a little bit about Jordayla. Now, Jordan, you know, he is head over heels about this wedding. I feel like he is more excited about this wedding than Layla, if I'm being honest. I hope I'm not offending anybody out there about that, but he is basically a male bridezilla. You know, he's like, yo, did you get my text about the wedding coordinators? Keep in mind, this wedding, I think, is like 2 years away. And Layla's like, I kind of forgot, but I kind of need you to slow down a little bit. And, you know, he comes out to her and he's like, listen, I'm kind of, you know, scared, you know, when it comes to, you know, Spencer and his numbers dropping and our new OC, and then, you know, our relationship is kind of on the rocks. And Layla's, you know, reinforcing him that, you know, you kind of got to think about yourself too. And she even pulls out, you know, his football stats, which I thought was dope because she is actually keeping up with him throughout the season about how many touchdowns he's scoring, yards, and things of that nature. So that was dope in itself to see that those two are compatible and doing their thing. But yeah, like I said, this man Jordan has got to slow down, right? But later on, we see Layla at the club, and her co-owner, you know, she's like, well, I kind of need a break, right? And well, he tells her that, you know, you kind of need a break. And she's like, no, I don't have time. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He plays his music. They end up start dancing, and Jordan walks in, and he's like, oh, so this is why you can't plan our wedding stuff, because you're out here with him salsa dancing and all of this stuff right here. And Jordan felt some type of way, as any man would when you see your woman dancing with another man. And later on, we do see the co-owner, I can't think of his name right now, but he's talking to Layla about coming off her antidepressants, because I think he said his sister was on it and it was not a good look for her. So Layla, you know, she kind of gave him a strange look, but at the same time, she kind of thought about it like, should I come off these antidepressants? So we'll see if that is going to be something that they set up in this story, well, in this season for her. I love this part right here. You know, the agent comes to Spencer's house. He's like, yo, how did you get, okay, yeah, you got my address from Coop, of course. And the agent is basically coming down talking to Spencer, right? And Spencer realizes that, yo, you got interest in me. You know, it's not about your other co-partner, it's about you. And Spencer ends up making an offer and a deal to this guy, because it's obvious if you're coming this late at night to somebody's house, yeah, you kind of do have some interest in them, trying to get them to sign a deal with you. Spencer's like, listen, when I do my thing, decide to turn pro, I want you to represent me. And this guy was over the moon happy about this right here, because now Spencer's telling him that, yo, you don't need the other agent. You can be your own man. Why don't you open up your own agency? Me and you, we can work together. So he is on cloud nine about him and Spencer joining forces, and also with Spencer becoming his agent. Towards the end of this episode, after we done seen Liv and Spencer both terrorize each other's family members this episode, Liv tells Spencer, can we always admit that we will address our pain? That goes back to the situation, the conversation that she had with Grace James, right? And, you know, they end up doing their little knuckle kiss thing that they always do. And that's how this episode ends. So, like I said, I enjoyed this episode. It was football driven. A lot of it had to do with football. You know, I'm interested to see, you know, how far Liv is going to go with this book. And I'm also interested to see Wade. The Wade scenario is going to be crazy. We still got Jordan and Spencer beefing. That's probably going to go on at least, in my prediction, maybe another 2 episodes, but we shall see. And as always, thank you for tuning in to The Lawrence Report.